Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. Today we're looking at NFTs and something a bit new in terms of tokens with something called fractionalized utility tokens. So I have Jason here from Block Investment Group to talk all about what they're doing specifically, and we'll talk a bit about the NFT space towards the end and see how things are going there these days. Jason, thanks for taking the time to come on.
Hey, what's up, Paul? And thank you to everyone that's watching today, and thank you for having me on. I was telling Paul before coming on, I've actually watched a decent amount of his videos, so it's super cool to be able to come on here and talk a little bit more about NFTs, fractionalized utility tokens, and what we're doing. And just to kind of give like a little background of me, if you haven't seen me before, I also make YouTube content on Cardano. I do mostly cover Cardano NFT stuff, but I have done some DeFi stuff like Indigo Protocol. And I've had a couple different channel CEOs on like Iagon and Cody to the channel to talk to them as well. But the big thing that I'm focusing on the most right now is actually our NFT project, Jelly Cubes, by the Block Investment Group. And we have some new stuff coming out, which we'll talk about today. But that's just a little bit of a background on myself.
Yeah, and I'll leave a link to your channel down below as well. And I think we're going to do some follow up videos. Maybe it's something I keep meaning to do more regular NFT shows, maybe once a month or something like that, because it's not something I concentrate on as much. I kind of look more at the DeFi side, but I'd like to bring a bit of it in, even for keeping myself updated on it. So we'll definitely look at setting something up and get some more videos going regularly, more kind of diverse across everything that's happening in the NFT side. But for today, what is the project you're working on? Then we'll get into fractionalized utility tokens and potential use cases for them.
Yeah, so the project we're working on is called Jelly Cubes by the Block Investment Group. And the Block Investment Group's kind of this overall umbrella of all the different things that we're trying to develop and do in the space. And I know a lot of your viewers are probably on the DeFi side of things. And I do think that you should start having some more NFT projects come on because there's a lot of different dApps and projects and ideas that are flowing through these different communities on the NFT side of things, uh, such as Levy from Ape Society, I'm sure you're aware of, and they've been getting a ton of volume on their lending protocol. But as far as our project, Jelly Cubes, it really started off as just sort of like an alpha group or like a community where people could all join together into with their NFT being their membership and learn all about different opportunities in the Cardano NFT space. And since then, it's stemmed into a lot more than Cardano NFTs. It's been DeFi, it's been other blockchains, where a lot of us are just in there networking, figuring out new updates that are coming to the market and just kind of staying on top of everything. But over time, it's really stemmed into this project where we're really trying to develop various innovations that we think can take the space a step forward. One of those being fractionalized utility tokens. But yeah, at the core, it's really just this community of people that are all trying to be keep up to date in the space and share information with that token gating membership. And then everything else that we've been doing is just really trying to make the space a little bit better.
Okay, quick technical cut there, but we're back in now. So thanks for the introduction. And yeah, there's definitely some innovations you see coming in the NFT space. I know I had the Ape Society guys on before. This was in around the launch of Levy. Definitely probably due an upgrade there or an update there to talk to them and see what else is going. And I do miss lots of things. Dave from Dirtbirds is going to come on fairly soon too. That's another project I see as a very big community there. But in general, there seems to be a lot going on. So yours, it started out with the community that were looking into different aspects of what was going on, and then did the jelly cubes. What do you actually do with the jelly cube, or what is it for?
Yeah, so your Jelly Cube, we have 2,600 Jelly Cubes total. We actually launched the collection first in July 23rd of last year. So we're a little over a year old now, probably a year and a quarter. And we had originally launched the 1,250 Jelly Cubes, knowing that we would launch an additional 1,250 sometime later on, which was actually January of this year. So we actually have a total of the 2,500 Jelly Cubes. Then we had an additional 100 jelly cubes that we had to create for this fractionalized utility token process that I'll get into in a little bit here. And throughout this, that NFT, pretty much go in our Discord. You verify your wallet, and that's what gets you access to the group and all of the information, as well as all the different benefits and utilities that we have coming out.
Okay, nice. So I suppose moving on to them 100 and what fractionalized utility tokens are. I don't fully understand what they are. I know we talked about this before. Do I ask now or do I wait till we get into it? So I think it's better if I ask the questions now and try and learn, and hopefully people watching can learn as well. So what is a fractionalized utility token?
Yeah, and I'll actually share my screen here just because it'll be easier to
Yeah.
kind of explain it as we go. So one of the big things with NFTs and fungible tokens, guys, is that there's pros and cons to each of them. When it comes to NFTs, which and this is actually a jelly cube if someone hasn't seen a jelly cube before. They're these little cute jelly monsters that collect stuff. But regardless, there are different pros and cons to both NFTs and fungible tokens. With NFTs, you have the branding, you have the art, you have the community, you have the token gating that I was just bringing up, where now all of a sudden you need this NFT to unlock membership or unlock different benefits. But some of the cons that we see in the NFT space is that they aren't very liquid because you have to sell this individual image of this NFT, right? They're all
Mhm.
unique. They're not transactable. I'm not really, saying, oh, I'm going to buy this using an entire jelly cube. And there's also a higher barrier to entry once you get to a certain floor price level, where now all of a sudden you need 5,000 ADA to buy an 8 society, or you need 5,000 ADA to buy a jelly cube. And it really takes a lot of people out of the system. On the other side, with fungible tokens, the pros are that it's highly transactable. I can go on a decentralized exchange and sell all of my tokens right away, or I can buy a bunch of tokens very instantly. There's a low barrier to entry because you can buy 10 ADA worth of a token, or you can buy 100,000 ADA worth of a token. And because of this, they have that instant liquidity aspect. But some of the cons with some of these fungible tokens that have been coming out is a lot of them end up being some sort of Ponzi type scheme where there's just a lot of inflation of the token and it's all about more people buying it for the price to go up. It doesn't have the same branding aspect that you can really get from NFTs, and it doesn't really have that community aspect of that limited amount of membership. So, one of the things that we were thinking of when we were trying to come up with a solution is a lot of NFT projects want to have a fungible token in order to have all these additional benefits, such as being able to transact with that token, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of times they would do this by having staking rewards on this NFT. And more often than not, these staking rewards would kind of end up going to zero as far as value because they weren't able to create enough use cases to actually have enough demand on that fungible token for it to uphold its value with all the inflation coming in from the staking with the jelly cube. So what we were trying to do is we were trying to figure out, okay, how can we have the benefits of NFTs and the benefits of fungible tokens without having any of the cons? How can we make it so that we can create some sort of fungible token where when we provide utility to it, it also provides utility to the jelly cube and vice versa, where there's this almost peg between the value where instead of now needing to dedicate resources to just providing utility for fungible tokens, for example, or just the NFTs, now whatever utility that we add can actually benefit both. And this is where our whole idea of these sort of fractionalized utility tokens came from. And I'll kind of mute this here. And this is posted on our block group Twitter. It's pinned at the top if you want to see it. But we actually had Block Owls come in and design this whole animation, and it looks super cool. But essentially, the way it works, guys, these fractionalized utility tokens is you're going to be able to connect your wallet and you're going to be able to see in this situation all of these different jelly cubes. And what we did is we assigned a point value to every jelly cube depending on its rarity. So, for example, this is a 1 point jelly cube, which is the most common, but we also have more rare jelly cubes that are 2 points, and it's depending on the skin of the jelly cube. And we actually have 1 pointers, 2 pointers, 3 pointers, and 5 pointers. And what we did is we said every 1 point of jelly cube you have is worth 10,000 jelly tokens or jelly chunk tokens, which is our fractionalized utility token. So, what you can do and I'll explain this a little bit more, is you can select a specific jelly cube. This was a 1 point jelly cube, so it's worth 10,000 jelly tokens, which is going to be our fungible token. We call it a fractionalized utility token. And now, in exchange for that 1 point of jelly cube, you are now getting 10,000 of these jelly chunks, but we have a 10% fee on it. And we're going to allocate this to different areas, such as burning them, having different gamification, maybe yield farming rewards. So you really get 9,000 jelly chunks in this situation. And that's why he went up 9,000 chunks. So then it kind of breaks down in this video how this works. And you'll see that we allocated those 10,000 jelly chunk tokens for every single point of jelly cube. And then we had that fee. Now, what's interesting here is the moment that a jelly cube got chunked, and this was a 1 pointer worth 10,000 jelly chunks, you are getting that 10,000 jelly chunks, actually 9,000 after you have that 10% fee. And in exchange for getting these tokens, that jelly cube that you chunked now ends up in the chunked marketplace. And the only way that this jelly cube can ever be bought back is if someone came in and they bought it back with this actual jelly chunks token. And once again, because it's a 1 pointer, that specific one is going to cost 10,000 jelly token. If a 2 pointer had been chunked in the past, this is going to cost 20,000. A 3 pointer is going to cost 30,000. So what's interesting is once you have this jelly token, we're going to have a bunch of different utilities on how you can spend it. But because there's this peg now between the jelly token and the jelly cube, both of them sort of arbitrage with each other. Because at any point in time, someone can take jelly token and they can go back and buy a jelly cube. And at any point in time, someone can take a jelly cube, they can chunk it and get this jelly token. So there's this natural arbitrage that happens where we're not producing any tokens. We're not producing any inflation of tokens. We're not just creating anything out of thin air. All of the jelly tokens are actually locked in the jelly cubes themselves. And the only time they'll ever be circulating is if someone goes through this chunking process. So now the reversal is happening here. If you have 20,000 jelly chunks, this is a 2 pointer. Someone can now buy this 2 point jelly cube. Now it's sort of unchunking it. And in exchange for 20,000 of your jelly chunks, you are now going to get this jelly cube back. And it is no longer going to be on this chunked marketplace for anyone to buy. So that's kind of the general process of how it works. And I'll stop there because I know that was kind of a lot of information.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and that graphic is really good, really high quality. I'd say for anyone who wants to see it fully, I think it probably comes across fairly well here. But if you want to see it in full quality, make sure and check that out on your Twitter. I will leave links to that one down below. So it's interesting. I'm glad now I didn't ask before it, because I get to see it here and get to think of the questions on the spot. But so all of the chunks, it's all the same. So it's not like the individual tokens. I have one of the cubes, I put it in and get out, say, 9,000. They're the same as if someone else puts one in and gets out 20,000 or whatever. It's all the one. Is it a fungible token they get out, or what do they get out?
Yes, so this is what's interesting. So fractionalization of NFTs isn't new. About like 2, 3 years ago, I think they fractionalized the first CryptoPunk. And essentially, CryptoPunks were too high in price. So what they did is they said, okay, CryptoPunk number 950, we're going to divide that one NFT into 1,000 different pieces. So now you can own 1,000th of that one specific NFT. What
Mhm.
we're doing instead is, instead of owning a fraction of a specific jelly cube, all jelly cubes across the whole entire project are going to give you the same token called jelly. And this is the same thing as a traditional fungible token where you can buy and sell it on a DEX. Someone could, for example, take a jelly cube. If they want to sell it instantly, they could chunk it, get this jelly token, and just sell it on a DEX. They can spend this jelly token. It's like any other fungible token out there. The reason we're calling it a fractionalized utility token is because you are, in a sense, with that token, owning a fraction of any jelly cube you want to buy back. So what's cool about it is the jelly token is backed by the jelly cube. It's kind of like the US dollar being backed by gold. We are effectively backing the jelly token by a jelly cube because at any point in time, if you have enough jelly tokens, you can just buy back a jelly cube.
Okay, so effectively you're going back to the gold standard instead of just having the money printer that some NFT projects, or some, not just NFT, some crypto projects have, where they just turn it on and print more tokens whenever they want it. There can only be the set amount that is backed up by the original NFT, is your version of gold, I suppose.
Yes, yes. So, and there's 3,900 total points of jelly cubes. So 3,900 times 10,000, because it's 10,000 jelly per point, is 39 million total tokens. So there's never going to be more tokens than that. And I brought up earlier that we had an extra 100 jelly cubes in our last in January in our second mint. We're
Mhm.
actually self-providing the liquidity where we're chunking our own jelly cubes and pairing it with ADA so that we can start this liquidity pool. So right away, there's never going to be inflation. There's only going to be deflation, because every time that we have transaction fees or every time someone chunks their jelly cube, we can decide to burn some of these jelly tokens. So every 10,000 jelly tokens that we end up burning, that is equivalent to 1 point worth of jelly cubes out of circulation forever. So we're not trying to combat this constant inflation. Instead, we're
Mhm.
trying to create things to accelerate deflation. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I like it. It's great to see things done differently, and actually a lot of thought behind it. Because with the, when say I have one of the NFTs, I put it in, I think you call it chunk it, was it, where it goes into
The
smaller one.
Chunkinator. Yeah.
So when I do that, then I lose access to the Discord or to the group then, because I don't own that anymore, do I?
Yeah, so if you don't have a jelly cube anymore, you would lose access to the group. So
Mhm.
this is one of those situations where if you have multiple jelly cubes, you can decide to chunk some of them, or you decide, hey, I'll just buy some on the DEX if you only have one jelly cube. But yeah, the access to the Discord is with the jelly cube itself.
Okay, and you're setting, I suppose, a sort of a floor price for the actual, keep forgetting, what is the actual
The
token called?
jelly, the
The,
jelly.
yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
So
no, people, yeah.
for the jelly token, it basically has a floor price that is what I suppose 1/10,000th of whatever the floor price of the NFT is. Because if you can buy 10,000 of them at whatever the price is, you can always swap them for the jelly cube and sell them for on the NFT side. So you can do it in one way or the other. Obviously, it wouldn't be just a set. It's not a set amount that you can buy 10,000, because the price would fluctuate on that. But there is a correlation between the NFT floor price and the actual jelly floor price too, is it?
Exactly, exactly. I'm glad you're understanding this. Yeah. So when we open up this LP, like let's say a 1 point jelly cube is 5,000 ADA right now, right? 5,000 ADA divided by 10,000 is 0.5 ADA per jelly token. So when
Mhm.
we open up this liquidity, the starting liquidity price is going to be 0.5 ADA per token, because at any point in time, if we did like 0.4 ADA per token, someone could just buy up a bunch of jelly and get a jelly cube way cheaper than market, right? So
Yeah.
this is what's cool though, is there's this arbitrage where as soon as jelly cubes get too high in price compared to jelly, someone's going to buy jelly and buy back a jelly cube because they're able to get that jelly cube cheaper than, let's say, JPEG store, like the NFT marketplace. And if any point in time the price of jelly is too high compared to jelly cubes, someone could buy a jelly cube on JPEG store, they could chunk it and they could sell those chunks, those jelly chunks. So it's this natural arbitrage. What's interesting though, and I brought it up in the pros and cons of NFTs versus fungible tokens, is right now our floor price is about 5,600 ADA for jelly cubes at the time of this
Mhm.
recording. This is a huge barrier for a lot of people to get invested or to be part of our project. So it's really cool about this is we are eliminating the barrier to entry, because someone can buy 100 ADA worth of jelly. Someone could buy 500 ADA worth of jelly. And if you think about it, if our floor is 5,000 ADA, if 5 people bought 1,000 ADA worth of jelly, that is almost the same as someone buying a jelly cube off of our floor on JPEG Store. So because we're eliminating this high barrier to entry, it's very similar to, let's say, Amazon's stock price getting too high and them doing a stock split so that more people can be involved in the ecosystem. So by doing this, we're hoping that we can have way more holders and way more people part of the overall community and part of the overall project, because now there's varying entries of entry price.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier there will be utility coming for the Jelly token, or is there any of that coming out? Or say, is there any aspects of the group I can get access to for having certain amounts of the token? Or I know obviously you can't get full access because that is for holding the NFT, but will people be able to be, I suppose, a part of the group for holding certain amounts?
Yeah, and let me actually share my screen again. Oh yeah, if you can pull up the screen I'm sharing already.
Yeah.
So, and I do want to tell people, if you want to check it out, you can actually go on the testnet bigfi.versal.app right now, and you can actually switch your wallet to pre-prod, and you can get these test jelly cubes, and you can actually swap your jelly cube, select the different jelly cubes you have. For example, I have this one 2 pointer here. I can have it on chain versus off chain, which I'll get into in a second. And you can actually do all these swaps, and you can actually go to the marketplace and see all the jelly cubes that have already been chunked, and you can actually buy some of these back, see the swap order status, all of these different things, right? But essentially, when it comes to the utility, what's really cool about this whole entire process is right off rip with our jelly token, you're automatically owning a fractionalized share in a sense of a jelly cube. So anytime we can provide more value to jelly cubes, that in turn will transition into more value for the actual jelly token. So outside of all of the different utilities we do, off rip, there's sort of this value backing with what we've already done with jelly cubes. And if you actually check out Tap Tools right now, just to get a better idea of, the floor of everything, our jelly cubes right now are actually the third highest market cap of jelly cubes. So in a sense, you can say our jelly token is backed by 14.5 million ADA worth of jelly cubes. And a lot of these jelly cubes will actually never turn into jelly because people are going to want a jelly cube in order to be part of the group. Now, when it comes to the different utilities, we've actually been posting different utilities every single day. We're going to have different digital products. I'm actually using one of the Jetty Yetis myself right now, where you can
Nice.
basically get this different merch that's backed by NFTs. We have our mystery chest that people have seen in the past, where you're going to be able to buy basically whitelist to it. There's going to be exclusive chest. Right here is our BIG trial passes. You asked if Jelly can get you into the group. Every so
Mhm.
often, we're going to have 1 week purchasable trial memberships into our Discord, where for a certain amount of Jelly, you can actually access the group. There's going to be different mini games we have, just like our Jelly Sweeper tournament, where it's these little mini games where you can wager Jelly, get different whitelist, different rated giveaways, right? So we're going to have all these different kind of side utilities where all of the sudden, with our off-chain and on-chain aspect, we can actually develop a lot of these different utilities very quickly. And this is where one of our block investment group sites are going to come in, where we already have some of these things pre-built. And the moment that we can actually add Jelly, which we're actually about to do another Jelly Sweeper tournament that starts tomorrow, the registration is actually about to open up in 23 minutes at the time of this recording. But you can actually already use this test Jelly, and we're going to be building a ton of different side use cases. Now, the big thing that I want to bring up about utility, though, and also, guys, you can actually go to our landing page and learn all about this, learn.blockinvestmentgroup.com, and just kind of get a better idea of all these different utilities of things we're doing, go through our tokenomics roadmap, partners team, all of this stuff. But the big thing that and I'll stop sharing screen there. But the big thing that we're trying to do is three main utilities, right? Utility number one is you have that fractionalized ownership of a jelly cube, and everything that we do with jelly cubes is going to be part of Jelly, and everything that we do with part of Jelly is going to be part of Jelly Cubes. The second thing that we're doing is this on-chain, off-chain aspect where we're hoping we can build all of these fun little different ways that you can spend your Jelly, but that's not going to be our primary focus, right? Like we can do these fun mini games and auctions and raffles, and we have a bunch of stuff planned for it, but that's not really the main focus. The main focus is actually going to be our block pad, which is sort of a launch pad combination incubator where we're going to help onboard different Web 2 companies into Web 3, or in the next bull run when you have a lot of new projects trying to launch. We're hoping that not only we can provide the technical needs for them, but we also want to provide the advising, the mentorship, the marketing, the exposure, the community, the branding, pretty much anything they need to succeed for both fungible token projects like different decentralized applications, as well as NFT projects. And essentially, Jelly is going to be what you need to spend in order to get allocations into these different projects that launch with us. So that's going to be the main focus. And we think that we'll be in a really strong position to essentially be a project that a lot of other projects want to launch with, simply because of the YouTube exposure, the connections, the branding. We kind of have learned a lot throughout this process, and we think we could really help out a lot of projects that are trying to launch on Cardano.
Okay, nice. And I suppose the infrastructure for doing what you've done with the token as well as possibility there for projects that want to go down that route. Is that your own technology then, or have you got partners that run that them aspects of it?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different partners. Brave Dogs is our main on-chain blockchain developer partners, and they built out this whole entire fractionalized utility token process, which we're going to offer as a service to any NFT project that wants to do this. We first want to test everything out and make sure everything's strong and working correctly. But
Mhm.
once that's done, we're going to offer this as a service. And if you're watching this video, definitely check out Brave Dogs as well. They're some very talented Cardano developers that have their own project, and they really build some awesome stuff, and we're glad to be partnered with them.
Yeah, it's a name I've heard a few times. Not a project I've looked into much before, but it's definitely a name I've heard mentioned with NFTs. So this isn't, you showed there it's on testnet. When do you think this is coming to mainnet for when people can actually chunk the NFTs and get the jelly token?
So we're hoping to do this maybe like the 30th, 29th, 31st of October. So this is very soon. So we'll probably add the liquidity, and let's just say around 11 days is kind of the target.
Okay, and yeah, so that could be 9, 10 days depending on when I push this video out, but hopefully this will be out within 24 hours or so. Um, so that comes up, I suppose, towards the Cardano Summit, which I always think for projects bringing out news and updates, doing it in around then is generally a good thing because there's more people out there looking to see what's actually going on in Cardano or what are some of the updates. So if people can get in and get on the tail end of that, I think it's always good for projects. So anything else? I'm conscious to have this one as a good introduction for people to what you guys are doing, what's going on, and what's coming up next. But any other aspects we haven't covered on it?
Yeah, I would say this is the bulk premise of it. You know, this whole fractionalization process, some of what we're trying to do. And there's some things that we haven't announced or released yet, that will be released over the next several months here as we kind of roll things out in phases. But yeah, I would just say if you want to learn more information, definitely go to our learn.block investment group site. And we're also going to be having some different documents like a white paper, sort of a Git book where people can go through all this stuff for people that are interested as well. And we're going to release this hopefully in the next week so people can get an understanding before they kind of dive into the main net.
Okay, nice. And actually, one thing is there a set point where if you have so many of the NFTs are put in to get the jelly token out that you would need to change something on access to the group or anything like that, or will that always be you have to have a one NFT or else the weekly pass that you talked about?
Right now, it's jelly cubes, but in the future, and I was telling this to the community, if we ever get, because I see it without going too deep, a lot of times when projects get too high of a floor, think of your Bored Apes, your Crypto Punks, your Azukis, your D Gods, some of these
Mhm.
projects, especially on Ethereum, you start to get a lot more investors and a lot less community members. And when it comes to an alpha group with information, we need people to be active to stay on top of everything. And if it ever got to the point where our floor price was way too high and it was more so investors rather than people in the community trying to find these opportunities, then that's when we would look into potentially opening up. Hey, if you have 3,000 Jelly Chunk tokens, you'll become a member fully and you'll get access to everything. But in the beginning, we don't want to lose the exclusivity of the actual group itself because we think that would actually devalue jelly cubes and devalue jelly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a balancing act and trying to find the right levels of what works to suppose keep the exclusivity to it. But like you say, you want to have active people in there and people who are interested in what's actually going on and not just there because the floor price goes up and they buy it and leave it to see where it is in 12 months kind of thing.
Yes.
But in terms of NFTs in general, so from people looking at from the outside, crypto in general isn't great right now. I think we're definitely stabilizing, but people looking at the NFT space, I've seen lots of comments that NFTs are dead. Obviously, you guys are trying to prove that they're not, and I'll be talking to Dave in the next few weeks as well. They had a big sale with Dirtbirds last week, which to me showed there's still a lot of interest there. But what's your overall thoughts on the NFT space right now?
You know, it's really interesting. And this is something we should probably hop on a call again in the future and we can have a couple other YouTubers on here too to talk about it because it's very in depth.
Mhm.
Essentially, with NFTs, they get a really bad rep because they're most NFT projects fail. And this has to do with a variety of reasons. Some people were trying to scam or just do a sort of cash grab. Some people just saw an opportunity to make money, like I was saying. But there's a lot of projects that are trying to figure out how to actually provide utility and value to such a new and emerging technology. I bring this up a lot, but this isn't a space where there's like three how to launch and run an NFT project for dummies. This is exactly what you do. It's one of those situations where we're in such uncharted territory and there's so many innovations that have yet to happen that it's really hard to see what is going to be here in the longer term. And we can talk about these different trends, such as metaverses or these staking trends, where they try to say, oh, this is going to be valuable, whatever the case is. But a lot of these things, we don't know how the long term picture is going to play out and which projects are going to succeed. There's so many things that an NFT project needs to be successful, like building a community, building a brand. How do you get people to know about the project? How do you provide some sort of value that isn't just, oh, I hope more people buy this after me so the floor price goes up?
Mhm.
There's still a lot of development and education and kind of seeing how things play out. And I think a lot of people that are on the DeFi side of things or people that might be watching might look at NFTs and be like, man, there's so many different scams going on, or, oh, it's not very liquid, or, oh, I can't trust these different projects to deliver, or, oh, this isn't actual real value. And a lot of these situations are true for a bunch of projects out there. What I would say with the NFT scene on Cardano is you're starting to see a lot of these projects that either weren't delivering or weren't delivering at a high level. You're starting to see a lot of that liquidity go into some of these bluer chip projects that have shown that they've been able to deliver these different things, such as Dirtbirds, Ape Society, Clay Nation, I don't know if I said Ape Society already, but you're starting to see some of these projects get a lot more of that liquidity. So I would just say for people looking in, just like the crypto market in general, a lot of projects have really taken a hit on the NFT side of things. A lot of projects have been running out of funding and kind of dying off. But there's also a lot of projects that have a ton of potential and are really trying to build amazing protocols on the space. So it's not a good idea to kind of lump all NFTs in one category, but really look at these projects individually and decide if you believe in what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, the really cool thing about NFTs and why I like NFTs a lot is you are part of this community of individuals that can all act as a sort of a mastermind where people can pool their resources together to come up with amazing ideas and solve major problems and have this network that hasn't been possible on this global scale without these NFTs. So, really, the community aspect of it and being able to talk to different people, get these different ideas, make these different networks, create different businesses together. This is really the power of these projects that you don't see as much with some of these other, decentralized applications.
Yeah, I think what the way you describe it, kind of some people from DeFi looking into NFTs. If you look at it, how non-crypto people look into crypto, they probably have very much the same views as look at all these scams,
Yes.
because you look across, and I don't mean NFTs and that, I mean across crypto in general, and how many projects fail or how many projects were outright scams from the beginning, just people looking for money grabs. And that's right across crypto. And if you look at failed, then even in the real world, well, the real world, I don't know what way we call it, non-crypto businesses,
Yeah.
the amount of early startups that fail is massive. It's just that in crypto, it's you see a lot more of the scams coming into it too. So I would say there's good and bad in all aspects of crypto. And like you said, it's trying to pick out the projects that are really trying to do something good versus ones who saw I suppose a trend and saw we can make some money on this. I've seen lots of projects raise funds and promise all these great things in both sides of it, NFT and in DeFi. And it's like they actually have no idea how to run the business or how much money it would actually take to develop what they were talking about, especially on the gaming side. That was a big thing for a while on the gaming thing. And it was like, we sell a small NFT collection and we'll raise these funds. And they're raising a couple of 100,000 and promising these big games. And they just don't
Yeah.
correlate the what it would actually take to build out there. So when projects are actually head down and building, they're the ones I think that needs exposure, needs airtime to show that there are people actually trying to do good things out there. Because even NFTs, the technology, I think there's so many use cases that we haven't seen yet. And for me, even getting outside of crypto, what they can be used for, the access they can give, or I always think ticketing is such a good one that I can't wait to see when we actually get that more mainstream, that like an NFT could be the ticket to an event, but then it's also your access to maybe discounts after, discounts to the next event. And the person who went to one event mightn't have any interest in all the extra benefits, so they can sell it on after, recoup some of their costs. And there's lots of use cases out there. But definitely a good show. We will try and bring a few people together to go down that rabbit hole someday.
Yeah, and just to quickly tag on to that, it's like all of the different use cases of NFTs is insane. I think part of the one of the biggest issues with projects is feasibility. Like they're not doing a feasibility check of, okay, we want to do a game. How much is that going to cost? How much do we need to raise? How much demand do we need to have for this? How many people do we need on our team? What are the timelines of these things? You have to do things that are feasible. And with these different NFT projects, when you talk about doing something like ticketing, I mean, you need millions of dollars to even have a shot at that. And then you have major companies in Web2 like Ticketmaster that could just implement their own solution and things like that. And that's one of the tough things with NFTs is providing these larger, big idea visions in some circumstances, but not actually being in the position to be able to accomplish them. And that's why with us, when it comes to like the core of our project, it's like information, knowledge, tools, resources, networking. Like these are things that we knew, like when we first started the project, were very feasible to do. And even when it comes to our block pad and one of our big focuses in the future, we know that we can help advise and really give projects a lot of this knowledge that are starting out that we wish we knew in the beginning. Like these are very feasible things to do. We already have the developers for it. We have the capital for it. We have the time for it. We have the skills and the network for it. Once we are able to accomplish that, and we can start to have more capital influence branding, that's when you can start tackling these much larger ideas. But I think a lot of projects, they come out and they say, oh, we're going to do this massively large idea, but they don't have any of the infrastructure or the setup for them to really be in a position to successfully be able to do that. And that's why more often than not, you see these projects fail. But yeah, that's like a whole rabbit hole I can get into as well.
Yeah, we definitely will do that one fairly soon, I think. And yeah, look, some people, they start out with a grand vision and start out with the best of intentions. They don't mean to for the project
Yes.
to fail or to be a money grab, and it can end up looking like that in the end. But it could be someone who genuinely wanted to be successful but didn't have the knowledge on what it would actually take to do it. So I think I'm going to park that there because I could keep talking on that, and
Yes.
sounds like you could too. But closing out on this one, any final thoughts on your own project? And I think we covered a lot of it, and I'll put timestamps for people in it, but I'll leave the closing thoughts to you.
Yeah, I would just say really appreciate you having me on and everyone from your audience listening. I'm gonna have to return the favor and have you on my channel too, and you can meet some of these some other guys on our neck of the woods, I guess. But yeah, I would just say appreciate you having us on, and um I guess for people that want to stay tuned, we're hoping that we can launch this LP on the 30th, and we have a lot of really exciting plans for it. And if you want to learn more, like I said, we'll have some more concentrated documents that people can look at to get that more detailed information. But yeah, that pretty much is everything from me.
Nice one. Yeah, look, I appreciate your time. I enjoyed the conversation, getting to learn a bit more about that and different things with NFTs. We'll definitely set up the other call fairly soon and maybe try and make it a monthly thing or something like that. Anyone watching, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, you got some value, learned a few new things. Share it out if you have. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, and leave some questions down below. Maybe we can pick them up in the following or in the next time we jump on a call. Thanks for watching, Jason. Thanks again for your time. We'll talk soon.